Hi, this is Łukasz from the Rebuild channel. Today I'm going to model something and paint something, because I like 3D modeling in Blender and I like painting. Maybe I'm not so good at it, but I like painting. And I like mushrooms too. Mushrooms are pretty. And I'm pretty. Maybe I'm not as pretty as mushrooms are, but today I'm going to create a mushroom model and texture it. That is, paint this model with real acrylic paints. Let's get started! So, first things first, I've downloaded some reference photos and... oh my god. Look at this amazing lighting. I should definitely consider doing this type of grill under the mushroom head and apply some subsurface shading. Then I have to delete the default cube and replace it with an UV sphere with some edit segments and rings. In the wireframe mode, with X-ray turned on, I can select the bottom part of vertices, delete them, and scale the head down on the Z-axis. Then change the shading mode and shade smooth the surface. I can even say that is too smooth, so we are going to deform it in the sculpting mode. So I have used the default draw brush and add some radius and strength, but unfortunately doing this I have created a mushroom unicorn. And that's why I prefer to use a shiny red matcap. That allows me to see the object's shapes more clearly. And right now I'm trying to repair what I have done to this poor mushroom and make it a little bit more even. And when we are done, we can go back to modeling. This mushroom species is not thin as paper, so I'm adding a solidify modifier and adjust the thickness, and then, now that's better, and even better if we add a subdivision. Now we are talking, little mushroom. Let's make you some leg. As we all know, the legs are made of Bezier curves, and we have to rotate it because they are laying flat on the ground. So now it's time to grab the handles and modify this beautiful smooth curve. And of course do the same thing on the other plane. If you are concerned that this thin little leg can't handle the head's weight, then we can change it and make it thick. So, after changing the resolution, we are done, right? No! I want the bottom of my leg to be thicker than the top. Unfortunately, my screencast keys stopped working, so to do the node scaling, you have to press Option plus S. Then rotate the head a little bit and align it with the leg. I was wondering, what is the best way to create this organic grill under the mushroom's head? And you know what? I think that I will paint it too. So I will paint a displacement map, and to do so I've copied the shape of the mushroom's head and scale it down and modify a little bit. Right now I think I should use proportional editing or something else, but I've done what I've done, so I've just created a shape, a little bit plate-like shape, and of course align it with head, so we could deform it with a displacement later. Now the fun part starts. I've created a new texture and UV unwrap the head, and as you can see, the standard unwrapping from the UV sphere isn't quite usable for painting, so I have unwrapped our modified version and now it's quite nice. So I could just paint a circle on a paper, but for the more complex models, this unwrapping and making a screenshot of the grid would be usable to see more clearly what part of mesh we are painting on. For the leg, I have disabled a cap because we will not see it anyway. And you can see that standard unwrapping is okay and it's rotated 90 degrees, but it won't affect our painting the texture. The bottom grill part needs UV unwrapping as the top because that was came from the same mesh, and we can see it's a little bit irregular, but that's okay. I will paint just a circle. Now I'm preparing the screenshots of grids to print, so I've inverted the colors using the standard tools and I just print it. Hi! This is our pattern. Quick change of shirt to work and we can start painting. I have used some flash tint light, Sahara yellow, raw amber and a little bit of ultramarine and mix them up to create shades that we need. So, what I was trying to do is to create a pattern like a dark light dark pattern from the inside to the outside of the mushroom's head. And as you can see, I've used too much water or too thin paper, and the paper is wrinkled a little bit. Fortunately, my cat Nika came and helped me with good advice and inspiration. The next texture I have painted was for the bottom part, I mean the grill. Maybe it's not as important, but I like to add a little bit texture to it. So I think it will help with realism. And then of course, I have to dry all the paper because it was really wet. I think that the displacement map is the most interesting one. I have decided to paint it by hand, so it should look really organic. By default, everything on the black texture will be 0 level and everything that is white will be raised. But I have decided that I will invert colors later because painting black on a white paper is easier and faster than paint everything black and then paint white paint over it. And this is the result. So look on the reference photo. I've noticed that the legs of the mushrooms are usually darker at the bottom, contain longitudinal furrows, and dirt soil that I simulated by spraying brush hair on paper. So here I have all the textures. The bottom, the bottom displacement map, the top and the leg. After quick cleaning the brushes, there's time to scan everything. I'm using the scanner, but of course, camera or smartphone photo is also an option. For me, the best results came out when I have disabled all the image correction options. After scanning every image, I've cropped them and I scaled everything up to a resolution of 1024 by 1024 pixels. Don't worry about the proportions because they can be fixed later scaling the UV unwrapped mesh in Blender. The next step is to create a material for every part that we need, and then we can change the tab to shading and create a texture node and connect it with our base color. After choosing the right texture, I'm going back to the UV editing and I have to rotate the leg texture, and then with proportional editing I'm changing it so it will align properly. It is not a seamless texture, but I'm really happy with it. And I have just decided that I will not render the part where the seam is, so it's okay. But you can, of course, modify it in Photoshop or other photo editing software and make it seamless later. For the displacement, I have created two image textures nodes. And here is an example of connecting directly color from the image to the displacement of materials output. It's of course not realistic and we want to affect the geometry. So I have to add a displacement modifier to my geometry and use the texture that we have created. But even adding some subdivision resolution, the results aren't so pretty because we have to invert the image and get rid of the brightness variations, so enhancing contrast and also adding a little bit blur will help us. As you can see, that help us and the results are better, but we have to also change the mid-level to 0 and strength to fit our mushroom. Then we can also change the direction to z-axis in local space, so the changes will be perpendicular. For me, 0.3 strength is right. And also I can get rid of the all the unused nodes. The color texture for the head looks quite nice right out of the box. I'm really happy with it, but do you remember about subsurface of the grill? Yes, I've added a hard light source specifically to adjust the level and color of it. Then back to the head, I've added a color ramp duplicating the same texture, and I want to create a color gradient that allows me to regulate roughness of the texture in places where the texture is brighter or darker. For me it seems quite nice. And for the final rendering, I want to use an HDRI environment. So I'm using a Lily Surface Scatter, which is a free plugin, and it allows me to copy the link of any, for example, HDRI Heaven free HDRI map, and then use it right in the Blender. And as we all know, the HDR is default a big sphere in Blender, but in truth, in reality, the Earth is flat. So this plugin has an option to make a flat Earth and make our render more realistic. In the end, I have duplicated the mushroom, scaled it down, changed the rotation, and move to create a nice mushrooms family. So you could talk to them and make friends with them.
Make friends with a tree. Talk to him. Then you'll get to understand him.
Then we are ready to render. I always like to use a camera to view option that allows me to control the camera in a comfortable way. And I have also changed the focal length of the camera lens and enable depth of field option. I'm really happy with the result, and I am surprised that it looks so semi-realistic. But of course, the main goal of this project was to have some fun. I like to refine render in a photography processing program. This time it's to give film look to it and a little bit autumn mood. It took me over 20 hours to create this video, so if you want to support me, please hit a like and share it. Let's Blender family grow in strength. That's all for today. Thank you for watching. Hey!